Ever wondered why your marketing isn't sparking the results you hoped for? In this episode, we crack open the toughest marketing questions, like how to find your perfect audience, scale without burning out, and how to use copywriting to make your messaging truly connect. Discover why lean, process-driven marketing is the secret weapon of high-growth businesses, and hear from experts on how to stand out in a crowded market, systemize your workflow, and strip back your offers for real impact. If you want practical, no-fluff answers to what actually moves the needle, this is the episode you can't miss. Welcome to the Lean Marketing Podcast. I'm your host, Allan. Now, this episode's a little different. Instead of one guest, I've pulled together some of the most powerful insights from past episodes, featuring people who've actually scaled businesses and know what it takes to get real results from your marketing. You'll hear from experts like Carl Taylor, Jack Delosa, and Nick Bradley as we dive into why most marketing fails, how to use AI without losing your voice, and what it really takes to scale or sell a business. So if you're tired of guessing and ready for marketing that actually works, you're in the right place. Let's get into it. To start with, I'll break down the core principles of lean marketing so you can finally get real, measurable results from your efforts and start moving the needle where it matters most. So we want to create value for your target market with your marketing. So much of marketing has just become pollution. It's interruption fueled, it's spam, it's cold calling, it's annoying. Now, and that's not the kind of marketing that we want in our business. We want to create a lot of goodwill in our business. So what we want your marketing to do is we want it to inspire, we want it to entertain, we want it to inform, and then a small portion of your target market will eventually buy from you. But everybody who comes in contact with it will get value from it. It'll create a massive goodwill in your business. You make your marketing so valuable that someone would potentially even pay for it. Again, even though you may never charge for it. So we want to create a lot of goodwill in the marketplace with our marketing. It's about embedding marketing throughout the entire product lifecycle and customer journey. A lot of times there's no product to market fit. You're going to have a very, very difficult time selling it. It's going to be like an uphill battle. So imagine that you're pushing a boulder uphill. That's often what it feels like selling a product or service that has no product to market fit. Conversely, when your product does have product to market fit, it's like standing with that boulder at the top of a hill, and our marketing is like giving it a little push and boom, it just gets a life of its own. It just accelerates and accelerates and accelerates. So I want you to think about marketing as an accelerant. It's not something that's going to fix all of your problems. So we've got to have strong product to market fit, and we've got to integrate marketing throughout our whole entire product life cycle, meaning it's all about your market. Your market comes before your product. So who are the people that you are going to serve? Now, there's two kind of markets that really come to mind. And the first one, I really like this kind of market. It's your former self. So if you've solved a massive problem for yourself throughout your life, that can create a very powerful target market because you've been in those shoes. You understand what it's like to be that person. And that's a much more powerful place to be. I think about my former self when I used to be an IT guy, struggling to get leads in the door, struggling to get new customers, struggling to make revenue. And I remember what that felt like. And so I can tap into those emotions because I'm not just kind of inventing things off the top of my head. And so I understand how people feel. And so now I'm able to help someone. I can speak to them in my marketing, but more importantly, in my messaging, I can say, look, you know what? I've been there. I've solved that problem for myself and for many others in your shoes. And that's a much more powerful place to be. Now, sometimes you're selling a product where maybe you haven't used that product and you just see a market opportunity, and that is totally fine. So that's where you're going to need to really understand the market very well. What are the things that they want? What are the things that they fear? What are the things that they desire? So really getting to understand them at a very deep level. So you're going to need to spend quite a bit of time doing deep market research to understand that. Marketing is a process, not an event. So a lot of people treat marketing like an event. Hey, we did a big rebrand, or we launched a website, or we launched a marketing campaign. And there's nothing wrong with any of those things, but Those are events. Those are not processes. A lot of times we'll work with clients and sometimes they get disappointed or frustrated if their early marketing efforts haven't been a smash hit of a success. But the best marketers in the world, they're the ones who do consistent daily, weekly, monthly processes. That's why a lot of people are surprised to find that the best marketers are often process-driven people. They're not people who are necessarily super creative or come up with some amazing brand idea or something like that. They're people who are just showing up on a daily, weekly, monthly basis and just really cashing in on that compound interest, the compound interest that generates new clients, new lead flow, new revenue. And over time, it is such a superpower. If you can implement the power of marketing processes in your business, you will be unstoppable. Daniel Throssell, dubbed Australia's most controversial copywriter, is known for his bold, story-driven emails and launching one of the country's best-selling books. In this episode, he answers how to craft messaging that truly resonates with your audience. So with large language models like ChatGPT, like Claude, some of those sorts of things, some people are saying this is the apocalypse of copywriting. It's over. Other people like myself, I'm super excited. I see it as a tool that can make us better, faster, help us with the writing, not do the writing for us, but help us with the writing, improve it, help with research, help with finding the right word at the right time. What are your thoughts on those tools? And what are your tools of the trade?
Well, I'm not using AI in any way for my stuff. One of the big reasons and one of the things I'm not so worried about with it is that my business isn't about the words. It's about the fact that I'm writing the words to people. I mean, you could get, theoretically, if an AI got so good, I trained it up on me and, I'm like, I want to go on holiday. So Daniel GPT, you're writing my emails for the next month. Even if it was writing really good copy, if my list found out that they'd been reading copy from an AI, they wouldn't say, oh, sick, I don't care. The copy was good. That's all I care about. They'd say, I feel cheated. I thought I was reading from you. The people are reading, and this is not true for every business, of course. Like at Combank, who flipping cares whether AI probably did write their emails. They're just so boring. But if you are talking like a relationship-based business, like mine, probably like yours, like Scott's for sure, it's about the person. It's the fact that the person is writing. I don't care, how well or how poorly they're writing, as much as the fact that it is them that is writing. So in that sense, AI can never, this is not a matter of, give it 2 years, give it 5 years. It can never be a person. People are never going to want to be hearing from an AI. And if you trick them, maybe that will work for a while, but eventually it's going to get found out and they're not going to want to read AI content. People inherently want the human connection. So that's one reason that I am not super worried about it. And I'm personally not really using it because also, I think qualitatively, it's not that good. It's trained on the average and, it's always kind of behind. It's just not as good as a human.
Yeah, I agree with all that. And I agree for other reasons that it's not at all a threat. I think it's super exciting. And I think it's something that's going to make good copywriters stand out even more. The way I think about writing's kind of like, for me at least, really the last bit where it's kind of like paint by numbers or whatever, where you've got the concept, you've got the idea, you've got the big idea, the thing that's going to make a best-selling book or an amazing sales letter or whatever. It's the big idea behind it. And then really when it comes to writing, no good writer that I know of is staring at a blinking cursor thinking of something for the first time when they go to write. When they go to write, they're essentially filling in the blanks. They're like, all right, great. I've got the skeleton, I've got the outline, I've got the big idea, I've got all of these things, and now I'm just kind of filling in the blanks. But really the value that they bring is not filling in those blanks. Great if you can use some tool to help you there, whatever. I think of it as a more advanced spell check, right? So I remember when parents and teachers used to think that spell check on a computer would make us dumb, right? So they were very concerned that we would not know how to spell words or whatever. And I think it's very similar large language models like ChatGPT and Claude. Carl Taylor is an award-winning Australian entrepreneur, investor, and best-selling author, and the owner of Automation Agency. In this episode, he answers the big question: how can you use automation to make your marketing easier and more effective?
So I'd love to get your take. What are you seeing some of the biggest opportunities with AI right now? So, I mean, there's a ton of things you can do. And what I'm interested in is how do we intelligently create leverage, and leverage meaning just get more results by doing less stuff. And perhaps, I think you probably more than anyone else are seeing opportunities that a lot of people are missing.
I think one of the first things there is, you're right. Like, we are in a huge influx of content. It's never been easier to create content.
Yeah.
I've had people pitching me to create my Instagram reels for me, where it's AI Carl.
Yes.
Right? Like, I don't have to record. They're telling me I don't have to record anything. And they've given me a few demos and they're scary good. I personally still have a weird feeling about it. Like, if my content goes out there, unless I'm saying, hey, did you know this is AI? It's a demo AI. Like, it feels weird to pretend it's me as a talking head video. So I've said no to these people pitching me, but like, the technology is there and not everyone has that same stance. They're just pumping out content. So It's never been easy to create content, but at the end of the day, it's got to strategically solve and serve your business. It's got to come back to, who is your ideal client? Because for most businesses, 99% of businesses, seeing a quote is not going to inspire them to do business with you. No. But there's probably 1% of businesses where maybe based on their ideal client, that's actually the exact thing they need mixed into their content that's going to bring them closer to what it is you do. But that's where I think AI can really help you. The problem with tools like ChatGPT, and it is getting better, is they don't fully understand what you do. They don't know everything you do. What you really need is, you need to teach the AI who you are, what your business stands for, what are the brand values, what does your ideal customer actually look like. It needs to have that extra context, because if you use an AI tool like a Google search, you're going to get very limited results. But when you treat it more like, this is a human being, this is a new junior hire, and I need to give them everything they need to be able to win at this task I'm about to give it, and you give it that in your initial prompt, the results you get are astronomically different. And so you need to look for AI tools that can learn over time more about you and our brand. Like, one of the things we're building is this integrated memory. So when you're delegating a task related to your brand, if it asks a question, you answer it, it remembers that over time. So you don't have to always, explain yourself over and over again, so that the content gets better and better. It's always going to be refined. But coming back to the strategy piece is, you don't want to just produce content for content's sake. You could say, give me a year's worth of content, but it's going to be meh.
Yeah.
You got to come back to, what is it you're trying to sell? What is that emotional journey you're trying to take them on? We're going through your standard tools of, like, the one-page marketing plan, like being able to understand, who are my ideal client? What does I sell? What are these key components? But load that up into your AI tools. Help it understand that, and then ask it questions to help craft what that journey looks like before you actually start generating the content. I want you to understand, my definition of automation is not just tech. My definition of automation is me not doing it. And so this principle of separate automation from innovation is true for when you're building team pipelines. And I also want to talk about, like, even in that content creation flow, don't always go, I need to automate the entire flow. It might be one simple step. Maybe right now you spend hours trying to come up with the perfect script for your Instagram video. Well, maybe if you just spend a little bit of time and go, okay, I'm not going to change anything else. I'm still going to still do the way I come up with ideas, but the scripting process, I'm now going to start using ChatGPT or whatever tool. Here's my prompt that I've crafted. I've spent a bit of time to build something that allows me to just say, hey, write this. Like, the way I get my scripts done, I open up ChatGPT in voice mode, only because Automation Agency's copywriting doesn't have a voice mode yet. But when it does, I'll switch to that. And I basically just say, hey, I need a script for my Instagram. This is who I serve. This is the Instagram account. This is the audience. This is the hook that I'm going for. This is the comment or the caption that I plan to use. And here's the general idea of what I'm thinking. And I'll just talk through what I'm thinking. And then eventually what will come out is, it'll come back to me with something, and then I'll just iterate back and forward like a person. I'll be like, oh, that's not quite right. I wouldn't say that. Or actually, what I'm really saying is this, until I get to a point that I'm pretty happy with it. I exit out of voice mode. I've got a written script there, and then I go away and record it. That was a process that took a long time, that now I can bang out a bunch of scripts in a few minutes. And it's made a huge difference. And over time, I've taught it the framework of what's the ideal script. It's not just general chit chat. But that's the example of, like, I haven't automated my entire flow.
Yeah.
I've just gone, here's a step that was taking a lot of time. Can I find a way, either with tech or team, to make that easier?
Hey, it's Allan here. Ready to dive deeper into today's marketing insights? Head over to leanmarketing.com/podcast to get a full summary of today's episode, including all of the resources mentioned. Go to leanmarketing.com/podcast. Now back to the show.
Jack Delosa is the founder and CEO of The Entourage, Australia's largest business growth agency. He's helped clients generate over $6 billion in revenue and is a 5-time AFR Young Rich lister. Jack shares what it takes to build a high-growth business, solve bottlenecks, and master pricing.
I'd love to know, what are some of the commonalities of high-growth businesses that you've seen? What are the things that really move the needle when taking someone from one kind of income level or revenue level to another?
I think the main thing is great entrepreneurs are very good at identifying signal through noise. And so in any given business, there's 1,000 things that one can do, but there's very few that you should do.
Yeah.
And so even if we look at it in the micro, right, if we look at how a founder runs their day, founder comes into the office, first thing they do is they open their email inbox.
Yeah.
And your email inbox is a list of other people's priorities for you.
Yeah.
And so when your day is dictated by your email inbox, you're literally putting other people's to-do lists ahead of your own.
Yes.
And so what I see is it's the behavior of the entrepreneur, and the vast majority of entrepreneurs are behaving and operating in a way that is reactive.
Yeah.
And so the rest of the day pans out like that. It's email notifications, it's Slack notifications, it's interruptions from team, it's getting pulled into any vortex that might look dramatic. What it really is, it's chasing dopamine. The great entrepreneurs are really good at identifying what are the core things that actually move the needle, and how do I create as much space as possible so I can dedicate as much time to the things that are going to make the greatest amount of impact.
Yep.
Just about every business thinks they have a cash problem. They don't. They have an attention allocation problem. And so there are really 3 or 4 things that move the needle in business: generating leads, making sales, delivering well to ensure that people come back. And so you're either doing one of those 3 things, or you're recruiting people to do those 3 things. And that's pretty much it. And so if you can maximize the time that you spend on revenue generating activities, maximize the time you spend on winning and keeping and retaining customers, then eventually, even if your business model isn't sound to begin with, eventually you will find one and it will scale, because you're being proactive in looking at the things that make the difference. The question I'm always asking myself, Allan, is this: what's the number one challenge in this business right now that, if solved, would make the biggest difference? And the reason why that is the most powerful question you can ask in business is, all business is a game of growing from constraint to constraint. Yep. And so you unlock a constraint, you go to the next level, you realize a greater constraint, you unlock that, you go to the next level. And so when we start out, the constraint is we don't have a product or service. Then we have a product or service, the constraint is nobody knows about it. So we start marketing, and at that point, the constraint is our sales conversions are too low. And then we tighten our sales conversions. And then our constraint is, well, our marketing's working, our sales are working, but we haven't scaled our delivery to keep up with our growth. So at this point, our constraint is we've just got a growing base of unhappy customers. And then you unlock that constraint, and then you're marketing well, and you're selling well, and you're delivering well. And then the constraint becomes, I'm doing everything myself, and we're bursting at the seams. And so the constraint at that point is the leadership and management capability and capacity inside of the organization. So you need to build a leadership team. You unlock that constraint, and you go to the next one. And so all we're ever doing is growing from constraint to constraint. And so what I encourage every business owner to do is ask themselves that question every single day. And then you want to focus on any given constraint until it is solved, until it is fixed, whether that's 2 months, 3 months, 6 months. Just do 1 or 2 key initiatives at a time until they are unlocked, and then move on to the next one. And so this is where it comes back to what you were saying earlier. Often when we're having this conversation with business owners, they say, okay, great. What should I add to the product to make it worth that? Yeah. And what they don't realize they're doing is, when you add to your product, you're probably adding complexity, confusion, and more effort from your customer or client to consume your product. Yeah. When business owners think about products and services, we think more is better. And I call that negative value.
Yes.
You're putting more stuff on it, and that is increasing either the time it takes your client, your customer to interact with you, or the effort required that they need to exert to interact with you. And so you've actually created negative value. And so a lot of the times the unlock for a business owner is strip your product down, strip your service down, do less, and charge more. You will be happier, the business will flourish, and your clients will be happier.
It sure is. I mean, I've got a few books in the pipeline, but a pricing book is definitely one of them.
Dude, I'm your first reader.
It is such a lever. It is such a massive lever because price is much more than just supply and demand. Price is a signal,
Yes.
right? So
Yes.
a lot of times if you have
Well
no
put.
other information, you see two products, one's $100, one's $200.
Yes.
You assume the $200 one's
Yes.
better.
100%.
So that's part of it, but also how price is used as an anchor. Having that super high priced product, it makes your normal price products look pretty reasonable, right?
Yeah, but that's a very important point as well, which is sometimes just having a significantly more expensive option gives a contrast price to the price of your, let's say, your core product or service. And so more people end up buying your core product or service simply because you had a more expensive option. That is a very effectual lever.
Nick Bradley is the global authority on building, scaling, and exiting high-value businesses. In this episode, he reveals what you need to achieve a high-value business exit. I'm guessing one of the big issues is not having a really clean set of books where you're intermingling maybe some of your personal stuff. Then there's arguments about what's an ad back, what's not an ad back.
Yeah, 100%. Or we call that audit-ready financials. By way of saying that, and people are probably listening to you thinking, what the hell's an ad back? If I explain to you what an ad back is, you'll never unhear it. Don't do this. When I tell you what it is, don't do this. But it's effectively something that sits on the P&L, right, which affects the profit of the business, that is not going to be something that is of future importance to the growth and scale of that company. So it's kind of like an exceptional item that you may spend, that if someone's going to buy your company, they don't have to spend that ongoing. So therefore, it doesn't count in terms of the running of the company successfully. The point being is, like, ad backs are kind of an interesting thing to understand. But you're right to suggest that if you are a business owner, you need to get all over the numbers, not necessarily personally, but you do need to have someone in your team who's going to get the cleanest set of books possible, because, you know, one half of the value of a company is going to come from the financial performance and particularly the net profit or the EBITDA. The other half is going to come through from a lot of other things, but you really want to sort of nail that financial piece up front.
On the plus side, I mean, in the last couple of businesses that I've sold, the thing that really got us the blue sky valuation was having some proprietary intellectual property. And that got us a valuation way, way above just a normal industry earnings multiple. We got way more than we would have just based on the revenue or the customer base. It's because the acquirer could see, hey, if I buy this intellectual property, apply it to my other business, we can get this kind of margin uplift or this sort of, you know, benefit or whatever. And painting that kind of blue sky picture gets you a much, much bigger valuation.
You've got to create this kind of lands, I think, a little bit into your world, Allan, and the marketing piece, and particularly the branding piece, because there are 15 things that are absolute and there's a bonus, and the bonus is actually the proprietary IP, because not every business has to have the proprietary IP, but if you have that, it can give you a kicker on the multiple. A sophisticated buyer is going to try and value your company based on the financials, the numbers that you present under NDA. So usually it's a multiple of EBITDA or profit. However, if you really want to win, and this is kind of going behind the scenes, you want to work on their math, not yours. And their math is what you're articulating now. It's what they can do with what you've created. And there are ways of getting that information out through the whole process of due diligence and negotiation if you ask the right questions. And you can, if you've got a really good finance person on your team who's helping with the process, you can start to run numbers that show the value that you will bring to that company. The way I sort of say to people is you won't win the full amount of that value. If someone says that your business is worth 5 or 6 times profit, and you know your business is going to be worth 10 to 12 times when it's been acquired by, say, another company, you can certainly negotiate a couple more points up. And if your EBITDA is, say, 5 million or something like that, you've just made an additional 10 million in enterprise value for yourself. So one of the things, of course, is what we call transfer value. And this is a business that isn't reliant on any one individual. So if you are the cog in the wheel right? Literally, marketing, sales, delivery, all of that is reliant on you, the founder, because you've built the business that way. You might like to be the person who's the best at everything. That business is very, very hard to sell, certainly to private equity, because private equity want to have a machine. They want to have a system. They love structure and process. So you have to build a leadership team. You have to build the right structure so that the business can transfer and isn't reliant on you. My belief is that proper exit strategy is a 12 to 36 month process where you get very intentional about the things I've been talking about. When you get into that sort of last 12 months before you want to officially, say, put the business on the market, my belief is that as the founder, you should have replaced yourself as the CEO of the company at that point, or certainly replaced yourself as the person who's running the company, even if your title was still the CEO.
Yeah.
And you should be going out there and meeting potential acquirers, but, and this is the most important thing, without the intention of selling. So you want to sell, they want to buy, but you're not out there brokering the business. You're out there learning about the industry with the intention of you do want to sell the company at some point in the future. Now, subtle, but super important, it changes the whole energy. And there's nothing more attractive to a private equity guy than the deal they can't get. If I'm a private equity guy, particularly coming in to buy your company, what I would call a sophisticated buyer, I'm doing transactions all the time, right? There are a number of sort of lanes I'm going to look at, and at least 3 or 4 of them are marketing or brand related. And the more unique, remarkable, differentiated you can make yourself, right, and position yourself as effectively a category of one, if that's possible, or certainly as close to that as possible, that's going to increase the valuation as well. So if you've got what you said, some form of proprietary IP, be that methodology, products, even service, however it's done, plus you've got a unique and differentiated brand, then, if you just think about it logically, you're going to be more valuable because you're the only game in town.
Thanks for tuning in to the Lean Marketing Podcast. This podcast is sponsored by the Lean Marketing Accelerator. Want to take control of your marketing and see real results? With the Accelerator, you get proven strategies, tools, and personalized support to scale your business. Visit leanmarketing.com/accelerator to learn how we can help you get bigger results with less marketing. And if you enjoyed this episode, please leave a review or share it with someone who would find it helpful. See you next time.